Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for the Q&A of the Case on Peace Garden. I'm so excited to have Tim Mahoney here. He's the director, writer, producer, editor, I believe, of the movie. So we're really, really excited to just talk to him and kind of get a little bit of insight onto what he, why he wanted to make this movie, what he wanted to come out of it, and all of that. So before we get started, I do want to remind everyone to rate the movies whenever you're done watching. That's going to help us determine the audience award at the end of the festival. So remember to do that. And then I also want to thank our sponsors, both our major sponsors, as well as the sponsors for this film, MedStop Urgent Care. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We wouldn't be able to pull off this festival without you. So thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. Okay, so Tin, I just wanted to, do you want to maybe just talk a little bit about your background, how you met Dave, and what kind of drew you to wanting to tell this story?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Vietnam during the war, and I escaped Vietnam in 1975, just a few days before the fall of Saigon. And I remember, watching Saigon fell, and the troops would, uh, entering the presidential palace, and I was so young to realize much what was happening, but I was taking everything in, and it was such a lonely feeling. It was weird because I was in America when I saw all this,
Right.
and so for the longest time, I didn't go back to Vietnam until 1994 when Bill Clinton opened up the country again, and I came back and I came back to see my grandmother, and she was dying. And so it's like a whole part of Vietnam just kind of lost me, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and so through I went to Willamette University in Oregon as a music major. Yeah, I was playing the guitar, and the weirdest thing was, um, for a while I was forgetting what Vietnam was like, and I forgot the language. I forgot a lot of things, the whole culture and everything, because I was living,
Right.
in America, and in a really white part of America.
Yeah.
So yeah, all the food, everything, forget it. I just lost my culture basically, and then I went to Salem, Oregon, which is also very, very white at the time before. And through the guitar, through the music, I started writing all these songs and pieces about the Vietnam War. So
Right.
it's like, yeah, it's like kind of like therapy in a way, because all this stuff is coming out. Um, and so a few years ago, uh, Dave Hansen, the subject in the movie, the medevac helicopter pilot, his son was making a movie about a reconciliation, with Dave and the Vietnamese,
Right.
soldiers from before. And strangely enough, he somehow found my music and used it in his film. And
Interesting.
so, yeah, I went up to Kson to meet him, Luke, the director, and Dave, and we hit it off right away, And so he gave me a tour of Kaysen, uh, where the battlefield was, and wow, that was, ooh, it brought up back a lot of emotion that
Good.
yeah, I've been hidden for years, and I had the sympathy for all these people that have lost their lives and everything. That is weird because you can feel it. You can feel that it's there. It's not just a place. There's something there. And so I was listening to Dave's stories and how he, what he did, all of this, and I said, Dave, you mind if I, interview you? Is it okay? And so that's how the project got started.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and the funny thing about this film too is I try to make it in a totally different way, like not your normal historical kind of film about the case and thing, but there's music in it, there's some songs in its whole entirety in it,
Yeah.
And the whole movie came about because of one of the songs in the movie. And that song, the whole time I knew that it took me over 3 years to write it.
Wow.
And once I wrote it, the whole movie just kind of came together,
Yeah.
you know.
Which of the three songs was it in the movie? The
Yeah, it's the middle song.
middle one?
Um, oh, now you guys, I can't remember the name of my
When they're
song.
walking through the garden and stuff, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's just like the one where he says, I couldn't imagine I can go back to this place. Um, and it was for him and it was for me also, like I can't imagine I'm in this place because as a child, I remember hearing about Ksan all the time. And to be there and to be there with the people who fought,
Right.
in the war, it was amazing. Yeah. And well, during that trip also, I went outside of the garden area and I met with the local people who fought in the war,
Right.
you know, and that was so interesting to see the perspective of a child, dealing with this, and then an American medevac dealing with his emotion, and the friends that he brought who are all veterans that you know
Yeah.
fought there, and then the local people who were fighting with them. It was just wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I hope that I brought a lot of these emotions and things, into the movie so people can really, feel what's it like. And the reason why I made it because I hope that it will uh, heal, the heart of many of these people, not just Dave, not just me, but all the veterans and from both sides, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
No, and I think that's so amazing that because obviously Dave in the movie talks a lot about why would I go back? Like I never wanted to go back. Why would I spend my own money, to go back there? And so the fact that you two were able to kind of bond over that similar feeling of like, okay, this is our first time going back and that kind of thing, like that's so cool. And I think it's really important that everyone saw all the different footage that was presented in the movie. Like, I think especially people my age who maybe didn't live through that war, like a lot of the images that we do see now is just the horrible, like horrific stuff that you showed at the beginning of the movie, and we don't get to see how beautiful of a place it is now. And so I think that just the contrast between both of those at the beginning and the end of the movie was really powerful. And do you maybe want to just talk a little bit about the stylistic elements of doing that contrast and what you wanted to achieve with that?
yeah, the thing about it is the going back is just not like you get yourself physically to go back to the place. It's all of us how like we went through a really dramatic experience,
Yeah.
and even though every year you're getting a year older,
Right.
but somehow that part of you, it just hangs in there.
Yeah.
It won't grow, it won't move, you know. And I think one of the poignant thing he said in the movie is the war is over, you know. So it's not just, it's like when you accepted that, you realize, okay, we need to move on.
Hmm.
And going back in a strange way, it's moving on. And yeah, the beginning of the movie is hard for people to take sometimes because those images were so powerful.
Right.
Um, yeah, and it deals with death and dying is what we experience, and that's the hardest part for us. Um, and it's like really put people at ease until you start seeing Dave and his friends and the local soldiers that were there before helping each other and building
Yeah.
this garden. It's yeah, I really wanted to take it, and then you see all the mountains and everything all around. It's just really gorgeous. And in contrast, it's also have mountains and things from Utah, where
Yeah.
Dave used to live. Yeah, and so you see the whole contrast. Um, like there's two parts of him, you
Right.
know. Yeah, it's like we're going back to being a child, and we're going back to, okay, I'm gonna, even though it's late, I'm starting again as an adult.
Yeah. Cool. And I think too, like the contrast of Dave in Utah with all the canyon and the mountains and everything, and then how green and everything it is. Like both images are so beautiful, but they're so different. And I think that's just a really cool way of showing too, like um, both cultures are very different, and but yet everything's still so beautiful, and everyone can come together, and we can still be this beautiful, like unified thing, like what they were talking about with just reconciliation with past enemies and stuff. And how I think he said something around the lines of like I'm so blessed to have been able to live long enough where like my enemies are now my friends. And so I just think that's a really cool thing, and just to kind of provide hope for future generations too, going like looking past, any of the hardships that we're having right now. Like there is hope at the end of the tunnel, and there is hope that, we will all be unified and friends, in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even with America right now, with its political struggles and everything, and you know, I've taken several motorbike trips just from where I live, way in the south, all the way to the north and back,
Mhm.
several times. And this country is so beautiful. And I've lived in America for yeah, almost 40 years, and you know, just seeing what's going on in America right now,
Right.
I just want to say that you don't want to lose that. I mean, in Vietnam, we lost our democracy.
Right.
Definitely don't want to lose that in America.
No.
It's pointless. And and because of my music and everything, I travel. I've seen more of America than most Americans probably.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful country. I mean, I just love the U.S. I moved back to Vietnam about 9.5, 10 years now, because I
Mhm.
really want to enjoy my country also. And it's also kind of strange for me because, when I was growing up, people were saying how bad communists and everything would. And, when I was coming here, people going, you're going to live with the communists? It's just a name.
Right.
Once you see, yeah, I opened up an English school here in Vietnam. And when you see the beautiful kids and the smiling faces and everything, it's hard to imagine that, there was a war here and there was all
Right.
this horrible stuff here. And you look at them, you go, oh man, I hate communists. You just can't do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. And it's such a blessing for me to see the two sides too, with America and Vietnam. And yeah, I hope that we find some kind of unity. And yeah, because to lose it's horrible for everybody. And you, even though you didn't experience a war, I'm sure you
Yeah.
realize that.
Totally. I'm curious how has the response from your audiences been different, both from Americans watching it and people in Vietnam watching it, and maybe people my age watching it versus people who did live through it and experience it. What's been the range of kind of response from the film? Has it been kind of the same all around, or have there been different takes on it based on things?
Yeah, the the Vietnam War, it wasn't really black and white. The more you know about it, you realize it's very complicated.
Right.
And that was such a good question you asked, because everybody that watched this movie, they have a different take on it
Yeah.
because of their background. Some veterans, yeah, for sure. I've talked to several veterans, and watching the film, it's hard for them not to cry.
Right.
Yeah, just so much. and the Vietnamese people too. And I've shown it to a lot of friends who know Dave, and uh, he's American, but in the Vietnam War and everything, we supposed to see it different with him, but they're very sympathetic and loving toward him for what he did.
Yeah.
It's just such a big task to do what he did, and it makes it so wonderful, and the attitude of the people here is very forgiving. You know, they think that it's over.
Right.
I think the hard part is for the Vietnamese people in America to accept that. They
Right.
still, harbor a lot of that, and that's a message we're trying to tell them is you need to have personal peace, like inner peace, not just the outer peace. We're done with that. Now you need to look inside and find that peace within you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, do you have any wrap up thoughts or ways that people can get in touch with you or follow your films, your music, anything like that? Any wrap up kind of comments?
Yeah, you can find me on denmahoney.com. There's a lot of information on there about me. And thank you so much for your interview. You've been wonderful.
Awesome. Thank
You did a
you.
great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you for taking the time to just kind of do this and show our audience a little bit of the behind the scenes of what was going on in your brain when making it and what you wanted to get out of it and everything. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to say to all the veterans out there, um, thank you for your service. I'm very grateful about that. And to all the fallen soldiers, I wish you peace. And I'm so excited about this festival, and it's been so great talking to you.
Thank you so much. It's been so great to talk to you. And I want to remind everyone one more time to remember to rate the movie whenever you are done watching it. And then also another thank you to our sponsor for this film, MedStop Urgent Care. So thank you, thank you, thank you.